Hello, everybody, and welcome to Playing Hide and Seek. I'm here today with Jacqueline and Alana, and we're going to be talking about that inner voice that we all have that we're constantly listening to, but may not have that awareness that it's there and or let it take over inside of us. And we'll be discussing that today. So welcome, Jacqueline. Welcome, Alana. If
Hi.
everybody would like to take a few moments and introduce themselves and share how you guys feel about that inner voice that we all experience. Jacqueline?
Hello, everybody. I'm Jacqueline Kane. I like to call myself these days Heal Your Back and Triple Your Income Specialist. So, inner voice. I have many inner voices. Some of them I give names to, like the perfectionist or the controller, or I like the part of me that just doesn't want to do another thing because I didn't give myself enough time to play. So I love tuning into these voices to see what I call who's running my bus. Because I like to be making progress. I like to be moving forward and not just clearing out who the parts of me that I don't like or letting them evolve and focusing on what I do want to do, focusing on my desires. And I can't focus on my desires when this inner talk is showing up. So I love this title, and thanks for bringing it up, Sunshine.
Thank you, Jacqueline. I know there's just so much to discuss and feel and experience when we're talking about that inner voice. And like you say, there's many of them. And yeah, accepting that we do have that inner talk, that inner voice. Alana?
Hi, everyone. I'm Alana Heim. I'm a cosmic prosperity activator. So I love this topic because, again, if we're starting to think about the cosmos and prosperity, it's like it can be very vast, it can be expansive, and yet it's within you. And so, what's going to impact your prosperity flow is really where are you? Are you even present? Are you stuck in the past? Are you in the future? Who is running the show? I love what you just said, Jacqueline, about running who's driving my bus. And part of me was like, oh, well, I would like it to be like a limo, right? Like, oh, I'd like to be the passenger in the back and we're just kind of going along for the ride. But in this regard of having this inner voice, like, who's my limo driver? I don't know. It could be the crazy, adventurous person who's like, let's pretend we're in England today and drive on the other side of the road. And you might be like, what
Yes.
is what is going on? Where am I? And yet then you can have like the limo driver who's like super precautious and safety first. And so just to kind of have thought of driving a car or vehicle or whatever that might be for you, it's what's allowing you to navigate this life, to be in this body and who's in control. And let's just say if we do have that toxic person or negative person that we have become within ourselves, we're going to tell ourselves to never even enter the limo. Like, we're not even going to go for a ride today. I'm just going to stay home. I'm not going to deal with the world. I'm too tired. I'm exhausted. All of these things that may feel true, but doesn't necessarily mean it is true. So I love that we're going to dive into these inner voices because, again, they can either help you reach your freedom and your potential, or they can imprison you.
Yeah.
Yes, beautiful. I love what you guys have shared already. And it has different layers and dimensions to it. And I've always thought of it as like an airplane or a bus, but I love the limo, right? And as soon as you said the limo, like it's like, yes, I wouldn't want to be in my limo and have like somebody that's part of me that I haven't healed from the past. That would be like a New York, like right downtown New York cab driver, right? Like, I want out. So there's lots of things that we instantly know of ourselves on the outside, right? When I think, oh, if I had a limo driver that was driving like a New York um, cab driver, like I would want out. I'd want to change it right away. I would do everything that I could possibly, like nails, claws, like just trying to get out of that limo, right? But there's things inside of us that we're not happy about that we don't do anything about. We just go with the flow, right? Or we think if we don't talk about it, or if we, then it will just go away. But that's not how we're built. That's not what we are as divine souls having a human experience. So I am Sunshine. I'm an international medium, an energy healer, and a soul spiritual life coach and author. So I love doing the hide and go seek and talking about things that are not out there with different points of view, right? We're accessing like, three different perspectives, three different experiences and feelings and emotions, and sharing personal things that have happened to us. So we'll start off with what is that if we've never thought about it, right? We have an inner voice, we have an inner talk. So what happens is we have like inside of us that has kind of been um, instilled since we were born about judgments. They came in about ourselves, right? And a lot of times we have these defragment parts that we haven't healed because we haven't become aware of them. So our inner talk or that inner voice can be very judgmental. It can be like a critic inside of us, right? If we just think, Jacqueline, you had mentioned the different parts of us, right? But if we just think we have this voice that isn't necessarily supportive, it's judgment of ourselves, right? And it can be something like, okay, well, I would like to wear this sundress today. Oh, but I've gained 2 pounds, so I'm not going to wear it, right? That is not somebody else judging us. It's our self-talk it's our inner voice. It's something that we've learned from the past. It's something that a mom might have said, well, we heard them say that long time ago, and it was instilled in us as a child. So we have this like CD that plays. We have this like inner voice that will be hard, right? On ourselves. Oh, I'd like to start my own business. Well, who would, want to talk to you if you started your own business, or who's going to buy your items and stuff? That is all your inner voice. That's all your self-talk. And I think the first step in realizing it is that accepting that, yes, we do have this CD that isn't always healthy if we've never been aware of it, right? That inner voice that comes from the past, that comes from our experiences, that is reflecting judgments on what we've already experienced, right? And then we get, I don't know when it comes or why it comes, but at a very young age, we can get addicted to that self-judgment, right? That self-talk that's inside of us, right? Well, I'd like to get a new car. Well, how is that going to happen if it's just so distorted, so untrue. It comes from that conditioned self, and it comes from different aspects, Jacqueline, like you were talking about, of ourselves that we haven't healed as of yet. So it's really important to realize that inner voice. And when I was first studying and looking at it and realizing it, I remember thinking, I don't have an inner voice that's putting me down or, not, talking to me nice. And the more that I went in to do the work, the deeper I went into the different dimensions and layers and aspects of myself, the more it came out. So one thing I remember being like really surprised about, my number one gift is I'm a medium. And every time, so until I started doing this work, I wouldn't realize, right, this self-talk, this inner voice that we have. Every time I would go to do a reading, I would have this voice inside of me that would be like, it feel like a fireman going to, put out a fire, or it would either feel like I was going to go sing on stage and I didn't know if I'd have my voice. Because what this inner talk was saying is, are you going to be able to connect this time? Are they going to be able to understand what you're saying, right? So it was always a part of me that I wasn't able to, like, I didn't realize that this is a life force that I give energy to every time I do my gift. And as soon as I found that out, I was like, you can go somewhere else, right? Like, I know you're there, but just go. I don't want to give any energy because it's distorted and it's not real. It's part of my conditioned self. So yes, it's wonderful when we realize that inner talk and can change it to a mindset where it's more positive, right? And love that inner critic that we have. Jacqueline?
Yeah, this is so great. And what's coming through first is how do we know we have an inner talk going on, right? And sometimes I would have to sit back if I'm going for a goal, especially in my business, and it's not happening. That's especially when I have to take some time to sit down and say, okay, which part of me, which belief system is showing up? What's my inner talk that's attracting things to not work, right? Is it my voice of disappointment? Is it my voice of having to work hard? Right. So I think first for people who are new to this kind of conversation, have you reached your goals? Is it easy for you? Does everything just fall into place for you? And God bless you. Congratulations. I think there's a few of us that actually like that's our life, right? But for the majority of us, we run into either closed doors or we run into problems or sabotaging, right? So becoming aware of what might first, what's the emotion, right? That's coming up. Um, and then like, is it your 2-year old? Because these voices come on board when a traumatic event happened or an overwhelming experience. It doesn't have to be a huge 10, number 10 trauma, right? It could be I got laughed at in second grade, or I was abandoned when I was like 2, or felt like I was abandoned, right? So, which part of you is running your bus, running your life? And then just start having questions. When I started doing a lot of this voice dialogue with one of my coaches, Alan Davidson, who has since passed, it was really eye-opening to get to know all these different aspects of us. And I line them up like a whole army of voices behind me, like who's running my bus today, right? And the beautiful thing is that he would say most of us spend a lot of time in our defensive, resistant voices, right? Who are kind of live in the basement. We never get to the penthouse in our lifetime, right? The part of us that has everything we want, that easily attracts all of that, that believes the universe has my back, right? So it's just we're investigating these parts of us and getting to know them. And when we get to know them and give them free space, then we can say, thank you, but it's time for you to heal. And what's your message? And then be done. And I like to say, let's up level your job description, because the ways you're helping me or protecting me right now are from the age of a 2 or 3 or 5-year old. And we're not there anymore. So what else can you do to allow another voice in, the voice that has everything you desire? So it's just investigating. This is a great conversation. I love it.
Yes, thank you, Jacqueline. And it's so true, right? We have different parts of ourselves that have been developed through experiences that we've had, right? And they'll step in as protective or protector. They'll step in as, you've already did this. We don't desire you ever again to feel this feeling, right? And what they're doing is they're just keeping us, instead of reaching that penthouse, instead of being huge and expansive as we are, right? They're keeping us like small and caged or boxed in or invisible and not our true selves, right? Or unable to speak our truth. So, yeah, there's so much to it. So, thank you, Jacqueline. Alana?
Mhm.
I know you do a lot of this work, Jacqueline, with working with these inner voices or these self-saboteurs. And I guess that's such a big piece for anybody watching. If this is new to you, there's plenty of quizzes out there and things that kind of map out. I've seen there's like 9, but again, are you a victim? Are you hyper vigilant? Are you an avoider? It's like there's labels, but what Jacqueline you just brought up is we don't even have to label, right? We don't have to go, why am I a victim? It's just let's go into the emotional energy and start
Mhm.
looking at our life and our experiences and what created this, because maybe there is some of that ego that's like, we're not avoidant, and we see it as we're just always busy. We're busy doing all the other things that as actually keeping us from doing the thing that we should be doing. And that's something that I just kind of recently was thinking about going, you know, if I'm on all these email lists, how it keeps me busy. I
Yeah.
have to clear my inbox. I got to go through these emails and how much that distracts me. And if I'm so busy with all these emails, what if I didn't have all the emails? What if I really did unsubscribe and I let it all go and I didn't have to waste any time dealing with that? What else could I do? What else could I start to put my energy into? And it's the voices in our mind that start to say, yeah, but we really need to know what this person's gonna say, or that fear of missing out shows up. And what are we gonna do anyway? And for me, it's being really present. And when I get pulled out and my head starts to think on a thought, and if I follow the thread, now it's more, okay, is this spirit or is this my ego? Is this one of these voices that's like telling me we can't do it? What's the point? I feel like what's the point is a lot for
Mhm.
me, of like, what does it even matter? Or is it even important? And so it's um now we're starting to get into, am I really seen? Am I heard? My worthiness, all of these other components of, am I showing up in the world? And oftentimes it's really just us that's in our own way. We can blame and project and think it's everybody else, or they're not going to see it, and they're all the stuff. And already I'm making myself a victim, or I'm already still in that avoidant place. So the inner voices are, yes, they can be the one driver, or maybe they're the one driver with the multiple personality. It
Yeah.
just suddenly pulls you here and here, and so it's noticing for yourself when these voices come in, whether you're going to shut it down and use different techniques to, throw up and imagine a stop sign, or have windshield wipers that are like, nope. And you just start to release and stop basically the neural pathway that is being activated over and over, and how we run our lives on these programs. Because it's, once you recognize and have the awareness, you get to choose which program. And that's really what you mentioned, Jacqueline. It's like, I can choose a different voice. I can choose in that moment, if I was negative and saying, what's the point? Now I can answer back and say, it's everything. It's important. This is needed. And you could help just that one person. You could be the ripple, and whatever it is that inspires you and motivates you, helps you to shift your voice, and really shift the emotions that are beneath it, all the energies that are beneath it, because that's how you're going to start to really attract more in your life and be heard by the right people. Sometimes we're not meant to be heard by certain people, and that's okay.
Yes, beautiful, Alana. I know there's so many moving parts to this, right? And just like so many. So you'll hear, you can hear inner child work, that's what I call it, where Jacqueline, for instance, you do the different like the different roles, the different archetypes, like you say, Alana, it will be called different things, right? And the funny thing is, if we realize that we have it, or one really sticks out to us, it can take 20 minutes to go in and do the work to heal it. So that's a fantastic feeling when we can go and do that. But we have that inner critic inside of us that's always being like harsh and always like tampering us down, right? And it's recognizing that it's there, and maybe do some documentation when you're first realizing that it's coming up. And a quick way too is, if you notice it coming up, and well, how much this has always been here with me, or we could think of it, say, there's no such thing as like a devil, but like the angel and the devil kind of thing, right? Are you going to refer to yourself as more angel-like, as we all come from the same place, or are you going to listen to this like negative thing that's always like, you can't be yourself, right? So which way do we really desire to live. So everything is so interconnected because we're divine souls having a human experience. So once we start connecting those dots, things can get easier. They don't have to be difficult. They don't have to be overwhelming. They don't have to be full of stress and worry because that does so much on our bodies and systems. Once we realize that inner talk that we have within ourselves, right? That we don't always say out loud, we think, right? But we're responding through our thoughts, right? So we might be going, "Whoa," and it comes out. So that is one thing, right? Like our inner talk, which can be silent, we can think, but the universe, that oneness hears that, right? It hears it. And once it hears our thoughts, it hears what's inside of us. And then once we speak it, it brings it forth, right? So when we hear balancing and harmonizing and aligning, it's all those different bodies and systems. It's all those different parts of ourselves. It's all we can't be saying inside of ourselves, geez, I'm never gonna reach that goal. I'm so stupid. I'm so dumb. And oh my goodness, I can't believe I said that in that meeting or whatever we're doing. But yet we're speaking, hello, and how are you today? Right? And then everything in us must align and it's activation. So if we're chaotic in here, that's what we're bringing forth of opportunities to heal, right? That chaotic, that inner voice, that voice that might be saying, well, you're not as pretty as her, or whatever may be playing inside. We're given opportunities all the time to be healing. And it's nobody else can heal it except we can do it. We can connect with that person that we're called towards to do that work. We can connect it with, it could be a family member. It could be, a friend that we really, are drawn towards. We have the ability to heal ourselves, but we're so in it sometimes we need help outside of ourselves too, right? To see clearly, to understand ourselves at that different layer, aspect, and dimension of oneself, right? So, and we cannot ever do, so I was 35 years with Spirit as my teacher before I had my first experience with like a spiritual mentor or a teacher, right? And ever since then, I've always had somebody in my life that way because the knowledge that I received and didn't have till I was 35 years old, right? It was so life-changing. And for me, I was always open to spirit. I didn't know I could have a healthy relationship with boundaries with spirit. I was always at their beck and call. I didn't know you could open up or close down, right? So it's always important to, as we grow and expand, our relationships will change too. They'll expire, we'll outgrow people, we'll have new friendships, new teachers, new mentors, or whatever it may be, because that's because of our growth. That's because of what we're here to do, is always grow and expand our soul, right? So things change all the time, but that's where the chaos comes. If we are being harsh in the inside to ourselves, and then we're talking whatever on the outside and taking it out on people sometimes, right? The universe is hearing all that and it's reflecting back on like, oh, okay, let's heal this in them. They just said it out loud. They need some healing. So that's why it can feel hard and difficult and chaotic. And that no matter what I do, nothing's changing. It's always the same. Nothing outside of you is going to change until we do that inner work, right? Jacqueline. Oh, Alana, did you
I
feel
can
like
go.
sharing? Yes, thanks.
The thing that is coming to mind is, my husband lived in Hollywood for 10 years and worked on sets and did every different thing in acting classes. And the biggest piece was always, if you're going to act, you have to really feel whatever emotion you're going to portray. You have to be in alignment, right? And they call it subtext. So we've got the text that comes out physically, but the subtext beneath it, if I say, I love you, do you really feel that I love you? Or did you feel, I don't know, what would you even say? What kind of energy was I bringing in?
How that felt is like like a whatever, right? Whatever she needs
Yes.
to hear at this
Yes.
time. Like, yeah, can we get this
Yes.
over and
So
done with? Like,
imagine if that's like our teenager,
yeah.
right? Because they're in that space and everything is like whatever, and just like there's that attitude. And if it's like, "Ugh, fine, I love you," right? You're not going to feel, you're going to have heard the words, but even if you weren't looking at me and you heard it, there's the subtext beneath it that you're like, I don't think she meant it. And to me, that's exactly what you were just talking about, is the whole alignment, all of the energy, and where is the emotion, where is our attitude, where is the words? Because then there's ways that we can pause, right? I love you is very different than I love you, right? And now we can emphasize different words. And what's the emphasis, right? Because somebody who might be like, "Ugh, you just made it about you, not me." And maybe that already is shifting. And so that all of these, right? I'm just saying I love you, which is a very powerful phrase, but then it immediately throws you into past times you've heard this, past times you were afraid to say it, past times that you didn't believe it, and somebody said it and you dismissed it, and all your inner voices were coming up like, oh, that person didn't mean it. Oh my gosh, did you hear how they said it? They this, right? And so in the moment, maybe I really am expressing all that I have to give right now, which, if let's just say if I was kind of that whatever teenager, or I really am the mom who's annoyed or frustrated and like have had so much going on, if that's all I can give, how we just block it and we don't even really feel it, because our inner voices will start to derail the whole piece, and we'll discount it, we'll dismiss it, we'll even tell ourselves that it didn't even happen because it wasn't worth what I wanted it to be. So it's just fascinating because this is how we are stuck in miscommunication all the time, because of the underlying currents of energy, because of the way we sabotage ourselves to even not receive what is right there, like as a gift to open ourselves to claim. And we start to push others away, or our own inner talk, that energy, that subtext is already saying, don't come near me, even if we're smiling and saying, please come here, and so it's that constant push pull and limbo that we're all playing with ourselves. And so when I brought up earlier, if I got rid of a bunch of emails, what I was already starting to realize is, what's the deeper piece of what am I distracting myself from? And it was more like, can I allow myself to just be? And if I'm just being, can I be okay and know that there is a part of me that's my purpose? And yet the world has me feeling like I have to keep doing. And even if I'm not doing anything you guys see, I feel like I have to keep doing something that I see. And it's not even important. You know what I mean? And so it's like, these are the spirals we can allow ourselves to go in to say, okay, if I really am having this inner voice, what is it there for? And so whether, you go do exercises and dialogues and practice, when you can just have the awareness and allow yourself to even go down the rabbit hole, that's something that I do. And it just comes, pieces start to fall into place. But again, it's just like the teacher will not show up until the student is ready for the teacher, right? The answers you seek, you can't receive until you're ready to even ask the question to receive said answer. It's just kind of how the universe works for us. And as much as we can say, oh, hey, sunshine, can you just heal this for me? There is that piece of, you have to be willing and you have to open yourself to start to play the part of, where did this come from? Why am I still perpetually creating it and allowing it to impact me? And is it now impacting my own energy, my subtext, that I'm going to say, every highly sensitive person can feel. And this is the dilemma. Like I hear your words, I see your behavior, I see how maybe you've learned to hide it, but I can feel it and I can feel that there's some incongruence. That's the stuff that we're here to start really allowing to come through, purge, let go of, because when you don't have that energy that you're trying to contain, the inner voice, it doesn't need to serve its purpose anymore to protect it. And that's how things can really start to open up so that everything's truly in alignment.
Yes, there's so much on this talk, right, in your inner voice. And I love how you shared, as an actor or an actress, right? What when we're watching, or even a singer, right? That's what we, we we need to feel it and be pulled in. But the actress or actor or the singer needs to feel that, to express that, to share that. And if that's not there, then that's not successful. It's not completed, right? And there's just so many different layers to it. And we've been so conditioned even from the very beginning. Like Alana, you were talking about, like we keep so busy, right? That, there's this busyness that we all think that we shall be doing and need to be doing. But that's society. That's societal conditioning to keep us away from our true selves, right? And when we're tapped into, right, a divine being, and not suppressing our true power, right? We're huge, we're expansive, we're radiant energy, right? We're transformation, we're ready for change. And like you say, Lynn, we have to be ready, right? We do this automatic thing that is that inner talk, that's that inner critic, that's that different parts of us that we're like making excuses. Well, I'm too busy, I can't commit to this. And when it comes to our own healing, right? What's best for us, we can come up with all kinds of things. That's our inner voice. That's our inner self, not wanting to step out of that comfort zone into something new and do healing. So thank you, thank you, thank you, Jacqueline.
Oh, you bring up so much. And I think the first thing is usually awareness, right? Like before I started really diving into all this work, people would say, "Well, Jack, you triggered me or you had a tone." And I'm like, "Oh, the tone, right?" That's when you know that there's an underlying anger or sadness or just something that's coming through. And I never could understand. There were just times when it would come through, and I'm like, but that's not what I meant. But everybody would say, yeah, this, I'm hearing your tone. And now that after doing the work, it's because my 3-year-old was angry because something was, she was triggered. And now I'm angry, probably because somebody else got all the attention, and I'm over here trying to get the attention, but she barely says anything. Or it got even to the point where people were saying things that I said and getting credit for what was said, right? Like like first you have to be aware that it's happening and then say, why is this happening? And then start to speak up. And then even speaking up can trigger so much. If you've never been raised in an environment that was like, who are you, sunshine? What are you doing today, Alana? What would you like to create? Right? Most of it was like, most of us who come and need this work is because we put everybody else's emotions and feelings first, right? Because somehow we learned that I had to be somebody different in my family because nobody's listening to me, or how I wasn't being heard or seen. So children are so smart. They just want to be loved and adored. And if being themselves doesn't work, we're going to create a whole new persona, right? A whole new inner voice, and then take that on. But is that really who we are deep down? What's the alignment, right? That's only going to get you so far. And then usually you're going to be 40, 50, 60 years old and be like burnt out and say, this just isn't working anymore. And then you kind of have to reverse and heal all of that and change your habits and patterns. But once you start, oh my God, life is just so magical and fun, and it just becomes so energetically aligned, and it's beautiful.
Yes, it is. And thank you so, so much, Jacqueline. And yeah, I love what you shared. It's kind of like, if we have clothes that don't fit us no longer, if we've gained weight, if we've lost
Yes.
weight, right? Like for some reason we want to hang on to those clothes, right? And kind of like stuff ourselves into it to make ourselves fit into it. I don't know why we do such things like that, but we do until we come to a conclusion one day, we're not getting back into that, right? And we let it go. So it's kind of the
Yes.
same thing, right? We as humans can like hang on to things, and we might not notice that we're hanging on to something that we no longer it's over, it's expired, we no longer need it, but it's like been part of us, and we're like dragging it and hauling it and being like, okay, come with me, and using all this life force, right? Or stuffing ourselves into something that doesn't fit, right? Or wearing something that's just like, you know, hanging right off of us, and we keep having to adjust it, right? It's all that conditioning. It's all the perception of thinking of what other people are thinking of us when we're so distorted that way. We have to have that feeling within ourselves, right? We have to be happy. We have to love ourselves. We have to have that self-awareness, right? We have to have desires and dreams. And it has to come, everything comes within and then ripples out. So thank you so much, ladies, for getting together and having this magical discussion today. So thank you. Thank you. I love you. Sending lots of love.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.